Are you also considering military force to annex and acquire Canada?
No. Economic force. We don't need anything they have. And I said that to, as I called him, Governor Trudeau. I said, listen, what would happen if we didn't subsidize you? He said Canada would dissolve. Canada wouldn't be able to function. We don't need their cars. We don't need the other products. We don't need their milk. We got a lot of milk. We got a lot of everything. And we don't need any of it. So I said to him, well, why are we doing it? He said, I don't really know. He was unable to answer the question.
What's the plan, Canada? What is the plan? Is Donald Trump gonna come over and annex us? Not through military, but through economic force. Did Doug Ford just push Donald Trump's hand? We're about to find out. Let's get into this report. Here we have Melanie Joly say that the entire world is coming to Canada for advice on how to negotiate with Donald Trump. We have everything the world needs and wants. We are an economic superpower.
So many countries that are coming to see us, to ask us about the new administration, to ask us about how we and they can adapt. And so I think that Canada's influence is actually increasing.
And then there is today. Head up, Canada. Keep your head up. Or to Melanie Joly, put your head down.
The question is not how I react, but what do we do? And my answer to that is head down. We need to concentrate on what we can control because there are a lot of things we cannot control. Now, the Prime Minister just took a plane going to Asian countries, and he will concentrate on finding also new clients and new markets. And that's exactly what we need to do.
What? First of all, once you've been smashed once into the boards, you usually tell the player, you gotta keep your head up. You don't put your head down. And secondly, I thought the entire world is begging us for all of the things that we have to offer. So why are we going around the world to beg people, please do business with Canada? I thought we were this economic superpower. And the internet is exploding after Melanie Joly's speech. Here's Ryan Garrickson on X saying, Canadians still waiting for the world to want what we have. And I wrote, Canadians are going to have to wait a lifetime unless they want fully charged batteries shipped on a cargo ship. Oh man, you're not going to believe this. Today in the House of Commons, the NDP party is turning on the Liberal Party. Does this mean they're going to call non-confidence when the budget is dropped?
Member for Rosemont La Petite Patrie. Shocker this morning, Mr. Speaker. President Trump terminated trade talks with Canada. This is a blatant failure on the part of the Prime Minister. He was elected as a champion negotiator, and now he's coming back empty-handed. Despite this, he did everything he could to please Trump. Border security, military spending, opening the Keystone XL pipeline. Stepping back on the taxation of web giants, he practically went down on his knees in the Oval Office. Job losses are spreading. When will the Prime Minister stand up with a real strategy to protect workers?
I cannot believe the NDP just said he went down onto his knees. Holy crap! It's heating up in the House of Commons when you have absolutely nothing to show for it. You said you were an expert negotiator. Now the deal is done, terminated. There is zero negotiation happening and 6 months of elbows down with nothing in the bag. This is absolutely ridiculous. There's no other country in the world that has a media machine like this. Us versus them. We look like vindictive, pathetic weirdos to the entire world. The Blue Jays aren't just playing for themselves because of Trump. They're playing for all of us in Canada. Are you kidding me right now? We just got some breaking news. Donald Trump wins. Ontario Premier is pulling the Reagan ad after Trump terminates all trade deal with Canada. He caved just hours after waking up in the morning, shutting it all down. But first, Doug Ford is actually going to be airing commercials during the World Series. But then on Monday, he's going to end it. He needs to get that last jab in. Here's Doug Ford saying everything is fine. Here's Doug Ford's statement, and hold on to something. This is just, our intention was always to initiate a conversation about a kind of economy that Americans want to build and the impact of tariffs on workers and businesses. We've achieved our goal, having reached U.S. audience at the highest level. I've directed my team to keep putting our message in front of Americans over the weekend so that we can air our commercial during the first 2 World Series games. Are you kidding me? He hasn't received the message from Donald Trump. In speaking with Prime Minister Carney, Ontario will pause its U.S. advertisement campaign effective Monday, so that trade talks can resume. So you're telling me you're going to be airing these ads during the World Series when the entire population of the U.S. is watching just to give it to Donald Trump, and then on Monday you're going to remove it so that you could continue to negotiate with Donald Trump? Is he okay? This is... Donald Trump's going to be even more upset after this message. Let's read some of these comments. 75 million well spent. Now resign. Or porcupine. But air during the World Series this weekend? That won't go as well as Ford and Carney assume it will. I'm protecting Ontario. Or Boots thought leader. Just imagine Trump sent 75 million in an anti-liberal propaganda in Canada. I have an idea for Doug Ford. He should immediately pull the ads from the World Series. And he should replace it with him smashing a bottle of Crown Royal on a Jeep Compass. That would be a lot more effective. For all the people that watch my morning report this morning at 1:30 in the morning I published, I said that the premiers are going to erupt. We went from unity to nobody on the same page. We're going to have some people that support Doug Ford, and then you're going to have some people that are pissed. Well, we found somebody that supports Doug Ford.
My fellow Manitobans, Ontario's TV ads present Ronald Reagan's views on tariffs accurately and powerfully. President Trump's damaging tariffs go completely against Mr. Reagan's legacy. And it's clear that these ads are working. If you throw a rock at a lake and you don't hear a splash, you've probably missed. So to my good friend Doug Ford, keep the ads on TV. They're effective, and this country is behind you.
Oh my goodness. I'm embarrassed to be Canadian today. Who elected this guy? I want to hear from you in the comment section. What do you think about his promotional video backing up his boy Doug Ford? We got National Roast on X. He says, swab canoe. Let's check in with the House of Commons today. I got a short clip for you.
The minister broke his promise to negotiate a trade deal with the Americans. But what have the Canadians got for all of the Prime Minister's talk? Higher tariffs than when he was elected, thousands upon thousands of jobs lost, and concession after concession with nothing in return for Canadians. And now the U.S. president has terminated negotiations with Canada, and the Prime Minister says this morning that they're making great progress. In what world is the termination of negotiations great progress? When will the Prime Minister deliver the deal he promised?
Yeah. Hear, hear. Mr. Speaker, for months, we have been drawing the distinction between what we can and what we cannot control, including trade policy of the United States, which has fundamentally shifted. We remain ready to restart negotiations. At the same time, we are building Canada strong. We are diversifying our supply chains with major economies in the Indo-Pacific. We are reducing internal barriers to trade, and we are getting off the ground national projects, which I may remind the opposition they voted against. Thank you.
Canadians don't have time for these Liberals to play catch-up. What have we got from the Prime Minister since his last trip to the White House? It was 5,000 auto jobs lost. What other jobs do we have to sacrifice? 100 jobs in Maitland that have gone to the United States, hundreds of forestry workers, 900 jobs in Imperial Oil that aren't coming back, all while Canadians are suffering with an affordability crisis that's been fueled by higher taxes under these Liberals and inflationary policies that have driven food prices up at the grocery store. He's telling young Canadians they need to make sacrifices. When is he going to deliver on his promise with a deal?
Speaker, it's surprising that the member opposite doesn't recognize that this government has been there to support industry and affected sectors with a $5 billion strategic response response fund, Mr. Speaker, and $10 billion for liquidity management. At the same time, 80% of our trade is covered by an existing free trade agreement. At the same time, we are reducing internal barriers to trade to add up to $200 billion to the Canadian economy. We urge the opposition to get on board and stand united and build Canada.
You know what's insane is the whole forest behind them is on fire, and they actually could stand there and look at the camera in the face and tell everybody, we're doing $15 billion of debt and just exploding our debt even further, supporting this. We're creating one economy out of 16. We are the best and fastest growing economy in the G7, and while the entire forest behind is turning into ash, who is actually buying what they're selling? You know things are bad when very own CBC liberal propaganda machine Rosemary Barton is in full meltdown mode.
I think you could imagine that upset Donald Trump, that it wasn't just the ad itself and the words of Ronald Reagan, that it was the idea that someone from the outside was trying to upend his political balancing act, if you will, and try and break or find division within the Republican Party itself. I mean, that was sort of the shrewdness of the ad, but also the danger of the ad, to be quite frank as well. And it would seem to have very much upset the president.
You know, Rosie, the last time that we saw the president this upset, it was over the digital services tax. And he said that he was cutting off trade talks. And I believe that was shortly after he was, in fact, in Kananaskis. And there was, discussions that they were going to have a deadline in July. Everything was cordial. And then there was that social media post that went out from Donald Trump saying, I'm not talking to them anymore. This digital services tax is ridiculous. And then we saw the Carney government pull back on that. What do we think we'll see this time?
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else to pull back, to be quite honest. Not only did Canada dump that, and I should point out that the digital services tax was an irritant with Democratic administrations as well. So it's not just President Trump that didn't like that. But we've also now removed most of the counter tariffs, the retaliatory tariffs that were on various goods. The only thing that remains are sort of the way that we're dealing with the sectoral tariffs in Canada. So I don't know what else, frankly, the federal government can do to show goodwill here to the president. So does that mean the ball is in the premier's court, as Janice was asking? Perhaps. But it doesn't seem, given his post this morning and posts by his ministers, that they feel that they want to pull this $75 million ad that has been appearing on all the places where Donald Trump would see it. Fox Sports, Newsmax, Bloomberg, all those places. I don't know if there will be a conversation between the prime minister and the premier about whether this ad needs to go. I don't know if it even makes a difference, frankly, if they pull it now, given that the damage has already been done. I think the way that you probably are going to get the president back to the table is to talk again about common interests, because that's what tends to motivate him. The common interests in this case being, how can Canadian steel and aluminum help American workers and companies? And the reality is, when it comes to aluminum, the United States is in big trouble. They desperately need Canada's aluminum, and they certainly want some access to Canada's steel. So, I'm glad I'm not negotiating with the president, but I think that is what has worked in the past, to talk about the things that the United States needs from Canada and the areas where we can collaborate. Unfortunately, now the Prime Minister is in the plane for the next 20 hours or so, and we'll have to hope that he can get some work done on that front, and then, try and get in the President's face when he sees him in person.
Do you actually believe that Donald Trump needs Canada right now? He's desperate for us. Or is that just CBC trying to back up Mark Carney? It looks like even CBC is starting to have their doubts. Watch Elizabeth May stumble out of the party bus.
So we're asking everybody about Mr. Trump's actions.
Go Doug Ford! Go Doug Ford! Sorry. Mr. Trump is, as ever, thin-skinned and unpredictable.
Yes. You can't make any of this stuff up, Canada.
Everybody about Mr. Trump's actions.
Go Doug Ford! Go Doug Ford!
There should be some testing going on, honestly, or at least a breathalyzer before you show up to work. We got to see some of these comments. Little Pork here on S says, this video should be used to show my kids when I tell them don't do D. Salty Albertan says somebody should throw her back into the ocean with the other whales. Then you get Elizabeth May as Captain Liberal. It brings back memories if anybody's seen this clip of Elizabeth May. Or Jess, Liz never disappoints. Or I wish politicians would have to do a D and an A test. Here's Jen Lizzie with her favorite Stellantis product. Or Arela, please, someone just muzzle her. Mark Carney flies more than any prime minister in Canadian history. He just broke his silence about Donald Trump in this news press release.
All right, good morning. Look, for months we have stressed the importance of distinguishing things we can control and things we can't control. We can't control the trade policy of the United States. We recognize that that policy has fundamentally changed from the policy in the 1980s, 1990s, 2000s. And it's a situation where the United States has tariffs against every one of their trading partners to different degrees. And it's in that context that our officials, my colleagues, have been working with their American colleagues on detailed, constructive negotiations, discussions on specific transactions, specific sectors, steel, aluminum, and energy. And a lot of progress has been made.
Not anymore. All of it has been thrown out the window. Does this look like a man that is concerned about negotiations with Donald Trump? I would not be sweating if I were him, because 91% of his net worth and all his assets are located in the United States. He only has 3, his almost 600 is located in Canada. That's 0.5%. Canada could be done, finished, kaput, and it doesn't affect his net worth whatsoever. So of course he's just sitting there nice and relaxed and cool.
And we stand ready to pick up on that progress and build on that progress when the Americans are ready to have those discussions, because it will be for the benefit of workers in the United States, workers in Canada, and families in both of our countries.
How long are Canadians going to wait to have no renegotiation with the USMCA before they start freaking out? Because that thing is a ticking time bomb.
Now, what we can control, absolutely, is how we build here at home. And that's the focus of Budget 2025, generational investment here in Canada. And what we can also control, or at least heavily influence, is developing new partnerships and opportunities, including with the economic giants of Asia, which is the focus of this trip. Merci beaucoup.
As he goes off into his jet and burns a whole bunch of jet fuel. And here is Doug Ford today. He only posted on X, but outside of that, he's inside the bush. Who's ready, Canada? Here we have David McGunty explain how much money Canada's going to be spending towards our military.
That is why this government is making historic investments in defense. As we've just heard, in June, Prime Minister Carney announced an infusion of $9.3 billion in additional funding for defense and security.
Just so people are aware, he did not campaign to get us to 2% of military spending. That was after he was elected.
Investments that enable us to reach our NATO 2% of GDP pledge this year, 5 full years ahead of schedule. By the end of this fiscal year, Canada will spend $63 billion on defense. And that's just the start. We'll be dedicating 5% of GDP to defense by 2035. Because defending Canada, our values and our interests requires immediate action as well as longer-term ambition.
Just so people are aware, 5% of GDP is so much money. If you take our $1 billion a week national interest payment if you take our healthcare transfer payments, if you take the $10 a day daycare payments, the food lunch program payments, and there's some money left over for dental care, our military spending will be more than all of those programs and interest payment combined. How are we going to pay for this without getting oil out of the ground? Are we going to pay for it with windmills and some fairy dust? Doug Ford has just surfaced again. I mean, this is some breaking news. He just published a commercial supporting the Blue Jays.
Hi, Governor Newsom. It's official. The Blue Jays are heading to the World Series to take on your Los Angeles Dodgers.
That's right, Premier. Two great teams, two proud places. It sounds like a perfect time for a friendly wager.
Okay, Governor, you're on. If the Blue Jays win, I'll send you some of Ontario's finest maple syrup in a proper tin can, the way it's meant to be enjoyed. The tariff might cost me a few extra bucks at the border these days, but it'll be worth it for a Jays win.
That's a sweet offer, Premier, but something tells me that syrup is staying north of the border when the Dodgers win. And when they do, I'll send you a bottle of California's championship-worthy wine. And hey, can you do me a favor? Think you can put it on the liquor store shelves?
I don't think so, buddy. Talk to your friend in the Oval Office. I can't wait for the Jays to bring it home. Either way, it's a win-win, great neighbors, great friends, and a little cross-border competition.
Well, couldn't agree more. Here's to great baseball and some friendly bragging rights.
Go Jays.
As a lifelong San Francisco Giants fan, go Dodgers. Here's to a great World Series and a tariff-free friendship between Ontario and California.
All right, what do you guys think about Doug Ford's brand new, you've seen it first here, promotional video? That's it for today's report. What do you think about Mark Carney's speech and how calm he was? Does that not make you nervous? And what about Doug Ford? He just can't stay out of the spotlight, can he? What do you think's gonna happen next? Make sure you leave a comment in the video, like, share with everybody you know. Have a wonderful Friday and weekend. I will see you on the next report.